Okey, yang berbahagia, Profesor Dr. Loh Teck Chuan, the Director for University Community Transformation Center of UPM, our distinguished speakers, Professor Dr. Shuhaimi Mustafa, and Associate Professor Dr. Norsida, professors, associate professors, doctors, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum and good morning. So first of all, I would like to welcome you of today's webinar session. So just for your information, this is the international webinar on agriculture and food, just in case any of you are in the wrong room. So I am aware that some of the participants are streaming live from outside Malaysia, such as Afghanistan, Indonesia, Brazil, Uganda, Philippines, Laos, and Nigeria. So with the time difference taking place, I believe that some of you might just about to have your morning coffee. Thank you very much for attending this session. All right, so for your information, this webinar is jointly organized by SEARCA and Universiti Putra, Malaysia, specifically Faculty of Agriculture, Faculty of Biotechnology and Biomolecular Sciences, and also University Community Transformation Center, or known as UCTC. So I am Muaz Mahmood, your moderator for today's international webinar. So just to brief a bit about myself, I belong to the Faculty of Agriculture UPM. So I am under the Department of Agribusiness and Bioresource Economics. Actually, I just completed my PhD studies in management from Lancaster University. So at UPM, we were always known for our agriculture. In fact, this university was originated from the School of Agriculture itself. So until now, not only do we provide teaching, learning, and research activities, our interest is also towards reaching the community via extension. So for those who are interested to become entrepreneurs in the agricultural sector, we also do offer robust training and programs, which in collaboration with existing entrepreneurs in the sector. For micro matters, we have the Faculty of Biotechnology and Biomolecular Sciences, which is led by Professor Dr. Shuhaimi Mustafa. So he is in fact with us today as one of the presenters. Starting off as a department, they have expanded well to become a faculty offering various bachelor degree programs up until PhD studies, producing high impact research. So this faculty actually has helped in terms of bringing the university to a leading world-class research university. So not to forget UCTC, this is the Center for Community Transformation with an emphasis on agricultural development, strengthening of the agro-based industry, and efficient management of biological resources, both at the national and international level, and also to propel the industry and community development programs. So without the existing of this center, the agricultural development agenda in UPM, at UPM level may not have been optimized. All right, so back to our main topic, food and agriculture. So together with us today are two experts in this domain. So they both come from different backgrounds. So this will be definitely something interesting, hearing their thoughts on this topic. So food and agriculture is actually closely related to us. Behind each plate of food we consume, there is an agricultural activity relating to it. Over the past years, the discussion in this area remains a hot topic debated in the academic journal as well as other published materials. So since the COVID-19 pandemic, questions have arisen whether the world has enough food to feed everybody. So in presence of pandemics or climate changes, food security is always at risk. So not only that, the safety of the food that we produce has also been questioned. Is it really safe? Just to think about it, we have been living in this world for so many years. Have we ever thought about the food we consume every single day? So in Malaysia, not only that, there's also awareness among Muslims to ensure that the food is not only halal, but also clean and healthy to be consumed. So much thought and research have been devoted in this area, especially Malaysia targeting to become one of the top halal hubs in the world. Anyway, these topics can be discussed extensively, but again, I'm not the presenter, so let's just leave this to the professionals, shall we? All right, just to run through our tentative today, we will start off with an opening speech by Professor Loh Teck Chuan, the director for UCTC UPM. So following that, the presentation will begin, where each speaker will conduct their respectful presentation for 30 minutes each. Subsequently, time will be provided for the presenters to answer questions provided by the participants. And last, to top it off, I will be wrapping up the whole session. All right, hence, without further ado, I would like to welcome Professor Loh to deliver the opening speech. Professor Loh, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muaz. Salam sejahtera and good morning to all of you, especially our panelists, Professor Dr. Shuhaimi, Mustafa, the Dean of Faculty of Biotechnology and Biomolecular Science, and Associate Professor Dr. Norsida, the Head of Department of Agricultural Technology, Faculty of Agriculture, and of course, Dr. Muaz from our Faculty of Agriculture. I would like to take this opportunity to apologize, especially Prof. Hantua, who's supposed to officiate this talk. However, due to the last minute commitment, that's why he is not able to be with us. Anyhow, I would like to give a very short speech. It is a great pleasure, to welcome all of you to this talk, Extension Talk, ExtenT 9.0 on the international webinar on agriculture and food. This special edition series collaborates with Southeast Asian Regional Center for Graduate Study and Research in Agriculture, SEARCA. On behalf of the university, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to SEARCA for always being together to promote research and teaching and special funding in agriculture sector to the students and community. And in fact, I was told that we have about 220 participants registered for this talk, and the participants come from various countries in this world: Afghanistan, Brazil, Indonesia, Nigeria, Pakistan, Philippines, Uganda, Laos, and Malaysia as well. As we know, COVID-19 pandemic is a global health crisis that has a devastating impact on most sectors of the economy, particularly for the food and agriculture sector. These sectors are undergoing significant change in resource management, extension program on field and modern agriculture technology adoption. While the supply of food has held up well to date, in many countries, the measures to contain the spread of the virus are starting to disrupt the supply of agro-food products to markets and consumers, both within and across borders. Issues like this are suitable to be discussed strategically together with universities, agricultural development agencies, industry players, NGOs, and farmers to get the best approach to resolve any issues that arise during this pandemic. Digitalization is one of the greatest means of transforming the agricultural sector in the present era. It directs the virtual transformation of almost every component of our life today. The style of working, communication, building knowledge, getting in contact with extension agents, and doing business. We cannot ignore that the fact this new approach has its challenges and shortcomings, especially in the agriculture and food industry. This seminar is timely and is in line with our roles towards agriculture transformation using innovative technologies to uplift the economic state and quality of life of the farmers. And of course, not to forget the GDP of the nation. There should be a close collaboration between the university, especially our university UPM, and all relevant agencies that will accelerate the implementation of high impact projects and the sustainability of such project, where UPM will provide the appropriate expert. In contrast, agency will provide a community network and infrastructures. Furthermore, improved coordination among us will significantly benefit all the stakeholders. Although the COVID-19 pandemic has kept us apart, we can still participate and get together to enjoy and experience the high quality discussion and sharing of experiences through this webinar event. I'm sure that you will feel enriched and new knowledge and information after attending this program. I welcome you all once again to the ExtenT program and hope you will have a great time ahead. Last but not least, I wish to take this opportunity to show my sincere appreciation and say big thank you to the Faculty of Agriculture, UPM, Faculty of Biotechnology and Biomolecular Sciences, UPM, University Community Transformation Center, especially those members that who contribute, a lot in order to make this program a success. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you, Professor Loh, for the enlightening speech. So I would like to welcome those of you who just joined this Facebook Live. So I've seen that most of the participants are actually coming from outside Malaysia. So thank you very, very much for joining us, and hope that you will stay until the end of the session. All right, so before we start the presentation session, let me introduce the speakers. So our first speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Norsida. Assalamualaikum. Dr. Norsida?
Sorry, I'm mute.
Assalamualaikum, Doctor.
Yeah. Waalaikumsalam.
How are you today, Doctor?
Thank you, but a little bit nervous.
That's all right. Okay, guys. For your information, Dr. Norsida is heavily involved in agricultural extension specifically, and also agricultural development, agriculture economics, and also management. So she is currently the head of Department of Agricultural Technology at the Faculty of Agriculture, UPM, and also teaching at the Department of Agribusiness and Bioresource Economics. So she completed her studies back in 2003 from bachelor's degree until PhD, all from the Kagoshima University from Japan. So the courses that she currently teaches is farm management, agriculture extension, and agriculture cooperative management. She's also the author to more than 130 academic articles. So she is heavily involved in research activities where she has led more than 15 research projects and engaged in more than 30 research projects. So now we have all heard about our presenter's profile. Let's all now pay attention to her presentation. Dr. Norsida, the floor is yours now.
Okay, thank you, our moderator, Dr. Muaz. Okay, let me share the screen first. Okay, you can see it. Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning to all participants. Thank you very much for participating in this webinar. As introduced, I'm Dr. Norsida, a lecturer, researcher, and agriculture extensionist from Faculty of Agriculture UPM. Actually, this program was held to fulfill the requirement from Southeast ASEAN Regional Center for Graduate Study and Research in Agriculture, SEARCA. Many thanks to SEARCA for awarding me the professorial chair grant for 1 year, and I'm really appreciate it. Many thanks also to my beloved students, my precious friends and colleagues for spending your time to join me. Today, I will deliver my lecture on the role of ICT-driven tools and technology to spread innovation for adaptation to climate change. I will try to complete my talk within 30 minutes. Hopefully, the content of lecture will pleasant to your ear and contribute benefit to all of you. So, be with me until the end. Okay. This is a presentation outline: climate change impact, mitigation, adaptation, vulnerability, technologies and climate change, ICTs for agriculture, role of ICTs in agriculture, and conclusion. Okay, before I start, it's all about the climate change. Why I'm choosing this topic to share with you? Why the climate change is one of the main goal in the world's sustainable development, or we know as SDG. SDG is Sustainable Development Goal. Okay, is it important to us as a researcher, as agriculture officer, academician, policy maker, or decision maker, farmers, students, entrepreneur, to understand it? What's the matter? Actually, climate change topic is a mega trend in agriculture sector now. Everywhere we discuss about it. Okay, actually, to let you know, let's know about the climate change. Maybe you are not very familiar what is climate change. Okay, climate change refers to a change in the state of the climate that can be identified by changes in the mean and or the variability of its properties and that persists for an extended period, typically decades or longer. Climate change may be due to natural internal process or external forcing. Okay, do we need to solve or reduce the climate change impact, or I can say here CC impact, because climate change negatively impact the human, impact the environment, and impact the agriculture sector. So do we need to solve or reduce the climate change impact? If not, what will happen? Actually, agriculture is projected to be the second most economically damaged sector by climate change. That's why I'm choose this topic to deliver to you and share with you. Okay, climate change brings the most influential impact to agriculture sector. Okay, changes in temperature, precipitation pattern, and multiplication of extreme weather events are expected to impact agriculture productivity globally. But these impacts are also expected to vary significantly across location. For example, the impact of climate change on wheat production is expected to be small but negative in North America as a whole, negative but more important in Europe, and much smaller and even positive in some scenarios in countries like Korea and Japan. Wherever you are, whether in Pakistan, whether in Afghanistan, whether in Africa continents, whether you are in Southeast Asia, you will find that researchers, policymakers, farmer, agriculture extension officers discussing about the climate change impact and their plan a strategy to reduce it. Okay, in this matter, we need to reduce and solve the climate change problem by two approach. Okay, there are two words that mean climate change mitigation and climate change adaptation. Do you know these two words? If you talk about the climate change, you must find these two words, mitigation and adaptation. What is this? Okay, mitigation first. Mitigation is reducing climate change, involve reducing the flow of heat trapping greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, either by reducing source of this gas, for example, the burning of fossil fuel for electricity, or enhance the zinc that accumulates the the things that, wait a minute, I want to, this one I cannot see it. Oops, sorry. Oh, sorry. Wait. Okay, then to be more understand, climate change mitigation mean avoiding and reducing emission of heat trapping greenhouse gas into the atmosphere to prevent the planet from warming to be more extreme temperature. This is about the mitigation. Okay, how about the climate change adaptation? Okay, I always discuss about the adaptation. What is the adaptation is? Okay, adaptation is a process through which society make themselves better able to cope with uncertain future. Adapting to climate change entails taking the right measure to reduce the negative effect of climate change. Exploit the positive one by making the appropriate adjustment and changes. Okay, climate change adaptation means altering our behavior, system, and in some case, way of life to protect our family, our economies, and environment in which we live from the impact of climate change. Okay, mitigation action will take decades to affect rising temperature. So we must adapt now to the change that is already upon us and will continue to affect us in the foreseeable future. Okay, future vulnerability depend on not only on climate change but also on the type of development path that is pursued. Thus, adaptation should be implemented in the context of national and global sustainable development effort. Okay, in the explanations above, we found the word of vulnerability. Okay, what is the vulnerability? Vulnerability is an indication of people exposure to external risk, shock, stress, and their ability to cope with and recover from the resulting impact. Okay, vulnerability may differ seasonally or different time within people live. It also differ across group within community or individual with a household owing to their livelihood activities or social standing. The poor are often the most exposed to climate variability because where they live or their livelihood activities. That's why vulnerability is the main words also in climate change topics. Okay, I want to talk about the technology and climate change. Okay, the technology can help us to adapt and mitigate the climate change. How? Okay, in the coming decades, the development and effective diffusion of new agriculture practices and technology will largely shape how well farmers mitigate and adapt to climate change. We know that the technologies can help adaptation and mitigation to climate change. However, for developing countries where agriculture productivity remains low, poverty, vulnerability, and food insecurity remain high, and the direct effect of climate change are expected to be especially harsh, the newest technology should be suitable to be adopted to adapt with climate change. Okay, this lecture will focus on ICT and how the role of ICT helps us to adapt and mitigate the climate change. So what is the ICTs? ICTs is technology that provide access to information through communication. These include internet, wireless network, cell phone, and other communication mediums. ICTs have been a significant contributor to growth and socio-economic development in business sectors, countries and regions where they are well adopted and integrated. Nearly 40% of the global population has access to internet, and the bottom fifth of the poor, 7 out of 10 households have a mobile phone. Okay, and then the large adoption and integration of ICT has reduced information and transaction costs, improved service delivery, created new job, generated new revenue stream, and saved resource. Okay. In agriculture and food sector across the world, ICT company, multinational farm input business, large machinery manufacturers, also small and medium farm input suppliers provide a number of services to farmers through ICT, including extension advice. Downstream supermarkets and agriculture product buyers also engage in the food value chain through ICTs. ICTs have transformed how business people and governments work. With this, digital technology promote efficiency and inclusion. Many tasks can be carried out at low cost and many services can reach people that previously lacked access. Okay, we know the benefit of ICT. And what is the role of ICT for agriculture? How does it work? Actually, I don't want to explain more on this photo or on this image diagram. ICT for agriculture can be used for analyzing, improving, and helping. Okay, there are lists of that. Okay, I want to explain this, but later in the next parts, I will go detail. You can see this diagram depict about the role of ICTs in agriculture. Okay, there are 8 roles that mentioned here: agriculture extension and advisory service. ICT also promote environmentally sustainable farming practice. ICT can help disaster management and early warning system. ICT can enhance market access. ICT can increase food safety and traceability, and ICT also helps or assist financial inclusion, insurance and risk management. ICT also build the capacity and empowerment, and lastly assist the regulatory and policy monitoring. Okay, the next part I will go detail how ICT helps to help to climate mitigation and adaptation. And for this part, how ICT help agriculture extension. Okay, if you know, climate change impact give a very big or huge influence to the agriculture sector. I can say here impacts on agriculture ecosystem, impact on agriculture production, impacts on agriculture economy. For example, impact on agriculture system where global farming cause temperature rise and has given rise to new types of blight and pests and causing damage to the crop. Climate change affect crop growth also, quality, harvest time and storage. And climate change also induce yield shock on more policy relevant variable like price, consumption, food security and economic welfare. Okay, to make you understand what the role of agriculture in this matter, I can see here that the role of agriculture is to provide technology and management information to develop the capacity of the extension agents. Role of the other extensions is facilitate policy and program, and then agriculture extension also implement policy and programs. Okay, to help the climate change adaptation, extension use this approach we call climate smart extension, where involvement of agriculture extension system by providing information and educational program on new technology to farmers. In this approach also smart climate smart extension improving farmers access to climate resilient technology and practice, and provide adequate information and knowledge to increase farmers' productivity. And this extension of extension approach also they increase the knowledge and attitude or skill acquired by the extension agent on climate change. expected to be explored and utilized through effective dissemination of climate smart agriculture initiative to the farmers. Okay, and then how the ICT helping extension to solve climate change impact? ICT can help by enabling extension workers to gather, store, retrieve, adapt, localize, and disseminate a broad range of information needed by farmers, thus transforming them from extension workers to knowledge workers. Okay, ICT also help gather information required for the extension decision makers and workers for better informed decision making by allowing evaluation of risk management option with regard to possible cumulative and aggregate impact from multiple stresses. With the ICT enabled tool, the futuristic extension is able to facilitate effective decision system. Okay, ICT also promote environmentally sustainable agriculture practices. Okay, the impact of agriculture practice to climate change, if as you know, agriculture both contribute to climate change and is affected by climate change. There are two sides. One is positive, one of negative. It contribute a significant share of the greenhouse gas (GHG) emission that are causing climate change. The main direct agriculture GHG emission are nitrous oxide emission from soil, fertilizer, manure, and urine from grazing animal. These all from agriculture. Okay, role of ICT in role of ICT is to help to raise awareness, raising and create new capacity on improved land management practices, which can translate into production benefit, reduce uncertainty towards climate change. Then the role of ICT also, internet-based application can be used in support of agriculture planning, help farmers to allocate resource more effectively and reduce risk. ICTs also can foster crop diversification by helping to document and share traditional knowledge and experience with resilient seed varieties. Okay, ICT also facilitate access to expert technical advice to complement local knowledge, enable access to user-friendly regulatory content, help to motivate stakeholders toward the adoption of agroforestry practices to increase farm income and diversify production. And ICT also help to gather and mobilize stakeholders for local conservation action. Okay, in this next is about ICT to manage disaster management and early warning system. Because the impact of the climate change, there are sometimes the natural disaster, and 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 we need to manage it in order to decrease the climate change impact. Okay, problem of disaster management. Okay, poor telecommunication, poor surveillance dying in reporting, lack of technology in detecting accurate fact information, limited capacity, no skilled manpower, or current disaster management communication approach fail to give a proactive, secure solution to ensure the communication reliability. Okay, and what is the early warning system? Early warning system is very important to manage the climate change. Uh, it is an adaptive measure for climate change using integrated communication system to help communicate prepare for hazardous, hazardous climate relevant related events. Okay, so in this matter, what's the role of ICTs? Okay, ICTs is disaster risk reduction by monitoring disaster possibility using satellite communication and GIS tool. ICT also help in disaster mitigation via biosurveillance system. ICT also help in disaster preparedness like early warning system and evacuation to save life. ICTs also help in disaster response to identify hazard before become disaster. And then the role of ICT also in disaster recovery to assist a community to return the normalcy after a disaster. All the things is the role of ICT help in disaster risk management. So the climate change will cause the disaster, and ICT can help disaster management. Okay, and then talk about the agriculture is all about the market access. After produce the products, farmers want to market the products. So how ICT helps it? Okay, first we want to see the impact of climate change to market access. Okay, supply, transport, and distribution may be vulnerable to disruption due to climate change. If the flood was happen, maybe the market or the transportation from farm to the market will disrupt. Extreme weather event may lead to the temporary shutdown of port and transport routes. Interruption lead to delay, increase the cost of international trade, and could lead to a shift in trade pattern as mm, company involved in trade seek alternative to increase reliability of shipping. Okay, that is among the impact of climate change to the market access. So, um, ICT can widen marketing horizon of farmers directly to the customers or other appropriate users for maximum benefit. As a role of ICT, farmers can connect directly with many users and may get information about the current price for the communities. And also, ICT will curtail the middle profit also, which will beneficial for the farmers and empower farmers for making good decision. Okay, in food safety and traceability, there are role of ICTs. Impact of climate change to food safety sometimes is occur because of bacteria, virus, parasitic, protozoonoses, and other animal diseases. Also, toxigenic fungi and myxotoxin contamination, harmful algal blooms, and fishery product safety. This is among the impact of climate change to food safety. So, role of ICT is machine to machine M2M connectivity that support remote sensing infrastructure, PC, mobile device, servers, mainframe, and network this used for food security analysis, modeling, and mapping. And then communication infrastructure include the internet to distribute information to farmers and consumer. So we can use ICT to decrease the impact of climate change to the food safety. Okay, our city also help to manage the financial inclusion, insurance, and risk management. Why I say that the impact of climate change to the crop, the increase in insured property losses from extreme weather event, so affecting the financial institution related to investment, particularly long-term asset management. So insurance company will be affected in their day-to-day operation like as a business because resources and conventional personal transport will become more expensive. So in this matter, role of ICT is providing highly cost-effective instrument for collecting, storing, processing, and disseminating information about risk of crop during management. Information service using mobile phone and radios can rarely early warning of inclement weather, market movement, and pest diseases outbreak to the farmers so that farmers will be prepared. And application of ICT also to transfer agriculture risk through instruments such as insurance and future contract remain limited, hampered by low level of institutional development, high cost, inability to customize product to meet smallholder requirement, and poor financial literacy rather than by the information concern that ICT can address. Okay, ICT also to increase capacity building and empowerment. Okay, affect farming livelihood by damaging harvest and lowering crop yield, thereby increasing poverty. So the climate change impact on crop production will alter the area suitable for some smallholder farmers to produce crop across the region. So climate change impact also forcing smallholder farmer to change their agriculture system to cope with or adapt to climate change impact. So here, role of ICT. ICT can help to build resilience among farmers because they are vulnerable to the climate change. So now we need to build the resilience among the farmers. Climate information system that use a set of ICT tools to collect, analyze, and disseminate adaptation information to farmers. We need to educate them how to adapt the information through ICT. And then the gather information help farmers to decide what, when, where, and how much to sell, give guidance on low-cost rainwater harvesting technique, and provide information on drought and flood coping mechanism. That's why the role of ICT is very important to this, because to help farmers to adapt and mitigate the climate change impact. Okay, ICT also assists policies implementation and monitor the progress. There are many policies toward climate change, policy to encourage adapted crop, policy on irrigation, crop and income loss risk management policy, disasters risk management policies. So the problem of policy implementation is lack of understanding or knowledge, then uncertainty about the risk, regulatory and institutional framework that are not strong and clear, limited local information on climate change impact, limited financial resource or adaptation, and legal uncertainty. So how ICT help policies? Open data enable citizen and others to be involved in policy making process. Okay, through ICT, data can be used by anybody to analyze the data and make a suggestion for policy improvement. Open data can be analyzed and result can be used to make informed argument for embracing, rejecting, and proposing new policy. Creation of transparency, openness, and variety in public value if we use ICT, and openness and blurring boundaries between public and government. There are the roles of ICTs in policy monitoring and progress. So in this matter, we need to diffuse of innovation through ICT to adapt the climate change impact. So we need to innovate the climate smart agriculture. What is climate smart agriculture? Climate smart innovation is to improve productivity for rural community. The importance of finance in scaling up climate smart innovation, using social network as an innovative platform for the livelihood of farmers, upscaling agriculture platform as a way to help climate resilient and smallholder farming, breaking socio-economic barrier and forming relation amongst multitude of stakeholders. So we need to diffuse our innovation through ICTs to help the farmers and communities. This is a framework of society support CSA implementation. Maybe you are familiar about CSA, Climate Smart Agriculture. Okay, there are application of ICT for climate change adaptation. I don't want to read it or to explain it, but to summarize it, application of ICT can have a main step of every adaptation process. One is observation, two is analyzing and planning, three is implementation and management, capacity building, and monitoring and evaluation. Okay, if we have this farm, the future farm, small and smart is very good in the next future to adapt with the climate change. We use ICT, we use IoT, we use the technologies of communication to make sure our agriculture is resilient to the climate change. Okay, to come to the conclusion, FAO estimate that if the present production and consumption rates continue, agriculture production should increase 60% by 2050 to meet the needs of food of world population. So to achieve food security and agriculture development goal with adaptation to climate change will be required to lower emission intensity per output. Improve food protection by moderate climate change, sustainably use the natural resource, use all product more competently, have less inconsistency and great consistency in their output. More fruitful and more flexible agriculture require a most important change in the way of use of land, water, soil nutrition, and genetic resources management by climate smart agriculture techniques. Okay, the core challenge of the climate change adaptation and mitigation in agriculture is to produce more food more efficiently under more volatile production condition and with net reduction in GHG emission from food production and marketing. It's very core challenges that need to be faced by the climate change adaptation and mitigation. So in this era of digital technology, not only extension personnel, but also farmers are naturally getting interest and attention to use ICT in agriculture sector. Is it due to the fact that they already use ICT for social interaction in various form? However, farmers are not well informed and equipped with the benefit hidden in the ICT, which can harness for keeping them informed about weather forecast, about agriculture best practices, about innovation in the agriculture sector, and many more. So whereas ICT are getting attention of various development sector in various countries, as these are very convenient, speedy, and resourceful. However, digital-based agriculture sector is less focused due to the lack awareness and knowledge about its potential role in the management of climate change risk. Although farmers have been receiving information on the use of ICT from extension agent exclusively for climate change through ICTs, extension agent need building their knowledge capacity and climate change risk management. Okay, not only farmers to increase their capacity, but also extension agent, extension worker, extension officer need to build their knowledge capacity also toward the climate change. Frequent visits, skill knowledge upgrade through training program on regular basis, farmers-friendly support and policy mature decision and help for resource poor small farmers are required in general. So we need to help farmers, not a big scale farmers, but also small farmers to adapt with the climate change. Okay, in order to reach majority of farmers, extension service provider need to be fully aware, equipped, empower themselves in all aspects so they can easily help the farmers required. The main agriculture extension officer, they will face with the farmers with their problem. So they need to aware, equip, and empower themselves first. Additionally, there is a need to allocate more funds. Okay, talking about the climate change adaptation mitigation, we need a fund. Develop method to integrate ICT and involve stakeholders for proper climate change risk management. All about the money. So government should allocate more fund in research, in extension, and for farmers. In the coming decade, development and effective diffusion of new agriculture practices and technology will largely shape how well farmers mitigate and adapt to climate change. The role of agriculture extension is to bring together agri-food stakeholders comprising producer, researcher, and extension personnel to discuss climate-related issues and prefer solutions to manage the climate change. So the effectiveness of extension service delivery is critically dependent on the knowledge and competence of extension officers on the various agriculture innovation they disseminate to farmers. I know the participants are among the agriculture extension officers, so you need to think more and more and strategize the climate change adaptation and help farmers to face with this issue. Okay. Okay, it's not that we use technology, we live technology. Is a Godfrey Rager, American director. Okay, they say this quote, it's not that we use technology, we live technology. Okay, I want to acknowledge that SEARCA is very helpful to give me the grant to use for my research, for my extension activities. And then Universiti Putra also give me many chance, give work place, presence, and then Faculty of Agriculture also give me many opportunity to help me grow in my career. UCTC also is a center that used to deliver, to diffuse, to transfer all of agriculture knowledge, information, and technology to the community. And then I want to say thank you also to my department. I'm heading of Department of Agriculture Technology. So this department always thinks about how our technology can help increase the productivity of agriculture. We also thinks about how to help the farmers to adopt the technology to help them to increase their income. And also, I belong to Department of Agribusiness and Bioresource Economics. So these departments help me thinking about the rural development, thinking about the importance of sustainable development, thinking about how to help the farmers and agencies to grow agriculture sector. And lastly, I want to thanks to Ministry of Higher Education, Ministry that responsible to UPM. So they always give us grants, help us to be good in research and then in education. So many thanks to the all. Thank you very much for joining me. Listen to my lecture. Terima kasih. Thank you. Give back to the moderator, Dr. Moaz.
Okay.
Stop sharing.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Norsida, for the informative presentation. With so many new knowledge to digest, I know that some of you are eager to ask questions from her. But let's keep it to the end of the session. I can see new participants joining us. I would like to give a warm welcome to those who just joined our webinar session. All right, so just a quick announcement for participants who have not yet registered. Please find the link at the comment section on this page, on the Facebook page. So you are required to register to get your certificate. So now, without wasting more time, I would like to introduce the second presenter, Professor Dr. Shuhaimi Mustafa. Professor, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
How are you doing today, Prof?
Alhamdulillah, Dr. Moaz.
All right, Prof. Okay, so just a brief about Professor Shuhaimi. So he is a professor of food microbiology and biotechnology from the Faculty of Biotechnology and Biomolecular Sciences, UPM. He received his PhD in food biotechnology in 2003 from Universiti Putra, Malaysia. So Professor Shuhaimi teaches several courses on basic and applied food microbiology, as well as halal science and philosophy to undergraduate and postgraduate students. So he is a passionate researcher in the area of food biotechnology, halal food authentication, and innovation. He's the author or co-author to more than 200 papers in international referred journals and more than 100 conference contributions. So his dedication in halal product research lends him an important role as the director of Halal Product Research Institute, Universiti Putra, Malaysia, since 2018 until 2020. Currently, he is the Dean of Faculty of Biotechnology and Biomolecular Sciences, UPM. So without further ado, I would like to call Professor Shuhaimi to deliver his presentation. The floor is yours, Prof.
Thank you, Dr. Moaz. Allow me to share my slide first. Again, thank you, Dr. Muaz, for the kind introduction. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and very good morning to all participants. Thank you to UCTC, UPM, for organizing this webinar in collaboration with SEARCA Philippines. I'm Professor Dr. Shuhaimi Mustafa again, and today I would like to share with you some of the update and issues regarding the food, especially the halal food. And the specific topic for my presentation this morning is rapid DNA-based analytical technique to verify the authenticity of halal food product. As we all know that food aspect is very diverse, yeah, right from the upstream processes until the downstream processes. But what I would like to share with you is a very specific topic on halal food. So this is the content of my presentation this morning. First, I will be talking about the concept of halal thayyiban in food industry, followed by some of the current issues in halal food. The third is on the rapid DNA-based halal food analysis, and lastly, the conclusion. Muslims are compulsory to consume only halalan thayyiban food, except for under certain circumstances. Halal thayyiban food is also good for non-Muslim, and halal can be defined as permissible by Sharia law, and thayyib is good and wholesome in terms of the quality, safety, nutrient, and purity of the food. Whereas the opposite of halal is haram, which means prohibited by Sharia law. As we all know that food plays important role in our daily activity, daily life. Without food, we cannot survive. Because of that, food is one of the most traded item in the world. And for halal food, it makes up about 60% of the halal industry, which includes the primary meat, milk, grain, and processed food. And the global market of these halal food is very huge. And it was valued at about US dollar 1.9 trillion in 2020. So from there, you can see that the market is very big, and this market mostly to cater the need of about 2 billion Muslim population. And as I told you just now, that this halal market is actually also good for non-Muslim. Therefore, if we consider both aspects or both requirement, demand from Muslim and non-Muslim, the value could be triple of this 1.9 trillion, because the world population now is estimated about 7 billion. So you can imagine the big market of this halal product. And this high number or big value in terms of the money of this halal product is also partly due to the increased awareness, yeah, among Muslim consumers worldwide about the need, the requirement, the demand of this halal product, and therefore it creates a very big market all over the world. And for the country, halal food is also very important, yeah, because this halal food can be marketed domestically as well as overseas, and it creates like, you know, a new source of economy for the country, not just for Malaysia, but also for all over the world. And most of the halal food traded has the halal logo. Yeah, as we all know that this halal logo is very important, especially to allow us to recognize the halal status of the product very quickly. However, we have to also realize that there are many other food being traded, being served, you know, without any halal logo. So the question is, how are we going to determine whether those food are fit for Muslim consumption or not? So in order to answer those questions, we have to ask ourselves about, the food in terms of what is the type of the food, what are the ingredients being used in the production of the food, and then how the food being produced, how the food being manufactured, how the food being packed, how the food being delivered, and so on. Yeah, and also we have to ask where the food being produced. Yeah, for example, if you have aquaculture, so where the aquaculture being activity being conducted, what are the feed being given to the aquaculture, and so on, also must be known to the Muslim as well as to anybody that would like to produce halal food. Therefore, in order to answer all those questions, we really need a strong understanding about the concept of halal thayyiban, yeah, which is available actually in many references. And these are some of the things or some of the items that Muslim cannot consume. Yeah. So we have here in the list pork or pork byproduct, and then we have animals that were dead prior to slaughtering, animal not slaughtered properly or not slaughtered in the name of Allah, blood and blood byproduct, alcoholic beverages, carnivorous animals, bird of prey, land animal without external ears. Yeah. So actually you can find more detail about what can or cannot be consumed by Muslim in this document, MS 1500 2019 Halal Food General Requirement 3rd edition or 3rd revision. Yeah. So next, I would like to share with you current issues that pertaining to halal food in Malaysia as well as overseas. Yeah, and I divided the issues into 4 categories here, 5 categories here. The first one is about the integrity and awareness. This is very important because in order for the whoever that would like to produce or sell or serve the halal food, they must have a strong integrity, in terms of how they acquire all those raw material, in terms of how they process, in terms of how they serve the product and so on. Because as I told you just now that not all food has halal logo. There are still some food without halal logo, but if we know detail about the characteristic of the food is still fit for Muslim consumption. Yeah, and also the awareness of the people that would like to get the halal food also must be there. They must have the awareness, they must have the knowledge, and they must have the will to acquire only halal food, especially for Muslim. And the second issue is about the misuse of halal logo. This misuse of halal logo is quite have a significant impact to the industry as well as to the consumer, because many people are aware that the demand, the need of halal food, and they want to produce halal food. But the problem is they are not ready to go through the process, to go through the steps to apply for halal certification, to get the detail of the ingredients, processes of the product, and so on. So they are not ready yet to go through that process, but they want to produce halal food. That's why sometimes, these people will just stamp the halal mark on the product without going through the proper process. And the third issue is about the use of doubtful ingredient. There are number of doubtful ingredients, yeah, being marketed that we really didn't know the source of those ingredients. So we have to really make sure that all those ingredients are known of their origin, processes, and so on before we use it in our food production. Yeah. And the fourth issue is about the new source of raw material. That one was discovered from time to time by the scientists all over the world or industry all over the world of this new source of raw material, and this raw material has always need to be checked with the standard regulation whether they are really permissible raw material ingredient or not. If the raw material is not permissible, then this raw material can be used to produce halal food. And the last issue is about the animal feed. Even though the animal is not required to consume the halal feed, but there are issues. For example, if we have the feed containing the non-permissible element, that non-permissible element might be in contact with the Muslim handlers. So we have to be careful with that also, because in Islam we have a concept of cleaning ourselves before we go for prayer and so on, and we have a process of how to clean ourselves if we are in contact with this item and so on. So if you are not aware of that thing that you are in contact with, then your maybe prayer might not be accepted, and it's just wasting your time. Okay. Next, I would like to share with you the real issues that was happening currently around the globe. Some in Malaysia and some in overseas. For example, here only recently, I think below 3 years ago, for example, this issue arose in 2018 about the snack factory using unauthorized halal logo. So we are not sure why this is happening, but maybe, as I told you just now in my previous slide, the reason, maybe they know the potential, they know the demand of halal product, but they are not ready yet to go through the process. That's why they simply stamp the halal logo on their product. That is the problem, one issue. And then we have also issue of mixing, of non-permissible, in this case pork, with supposed to be halal mutton. So they mix these two together and then put into the container and then export to all over the world. Yeah. So the issue is there might be a cross-contamination of these pork materials, onto the mutton, or the vice versa. So when this happens, it will cause panic and will actually affect the industry, as a whole. That's why we have to really be careful to everybody, either the exporter, importer, the producer, the retailer, the consumer, and so on. We have to be aware of all this thing and the requirement, all the requirement to produce halal food. Yeah. And another issue here is the illegal import of milk fat. Yeah. So keep on happening this issue, and it's a challenge. Yeah. For us, especially when you want to buy the raw material, and if the raw material being imported into the country illegally, then you might not know the source, the status of halal of the raw materials. That's why I told you just now that if the product has no halal logo, you have to ask yourself about the what, where, and how. If you are satisfied with that, you can use that ingredient in your product and then you can market. Yeah, it has no problem. But you have to be aware of the requirement or your intention. If you want to produce halal food, then you have to follow all the requirements. If you don't want to produce halal food, then it's also up to the people, up to us. We can still sell our product, no issue. All right. because halal certification is not compulsory in many countries. As long as if you produce a non-halal food, you don't label it with halal, because it will mislead people to assume that the food that you produce is halal. Yeah, and only recently, very recently this year, that we have issue of the presence of porcine DNA in fish ball, and was detected by the authority. And if this case is happening, then it will affect, everybody, not just the importing country, but also the exporting countries. The owner of the brand will also be affected. Then eventually, the business as a whole will be affected. So if possible, we don't want this to happen, because we want to protect not just the people that consume, but also the industry, because from the industry, we will create the economy. Yeah, and when we have a good economy, the people can have a better life. Yeah. And another example here is the illegal import of lard for biscuit. So this is another very critical issue, yeah, happening, where lard was imported and specifically used for biscuit. Then when and this biscuit being sold, then it might reach broad spectrum of customers of various background and custom, religion, and so on, and it will have a problem, and everybody will have a problem because of this issue. Yeah. And the next issue is about the new raw material, raw ingredient that being developed from time to time, and in this case is the raw material ingredient extracted from pig blood. And from this article, we know that there are a lot of pig blood, about 60,000 tons produced from one country, and they have the intention to convert this pig blood into food ingredients, because this blood contains very high amount of protein of a high quality. So these are the things that we have to be aware of in the future, yeah, when we talk about the halal food especially. And also the doubtful ingredient. We have this doubtful ingredient from time to time being used in the production of food and beverages. For example, in this case, even though the product is just an instant coffee, it's very simple product, instant coffee. Everybody drink instant coffee, yeah. But when you look at the ingredients, shows that it contains collagen. Collagen is one of the critical ingredient, very doubtful ingredient, because collagen only can be extracted from animal, either land animal or aquatic animal. Yeah. So if the collagen obtained from aquatic, then okay. But if the collagen extracted from animal and without halal logo, then this collagen is very, very doubtful. And for Muslim, if you have a doubtful thing, the best way is to avoid it. Yeah, because if you don't avoid, you might, accidentally or unintentionally consume those non-permissible ingredients. Yeah. And also the animal feed, we have issue with the animal feed, even though the animal is not compulsory to eat halal, but the human that handle the feed might be contaminated, and they have problem, especially when they want to go for prayer and so on. Yeah, because there is a product, cat food labeled with pork liver clearly. So then if they label it very clearly in the product, it's okay. Just that the consumer need to really check the packaging and then see whether the packaging contain any doubtful ingredient or not. And in this case, the product is clearly labeled with pork. Then you have to handle it very carefully. Yeah. And our religious authority always advise us to always check when you have this product, even though with halal logo or not with halal logo, we have to always check. Yeah. And in order to check, you must have the knowledge. Without the knowledge, you cannot make a decision or make a correct decision. And next, I will go to the technical part of my presentation, which is on the rapid DNA-based analytical technique. I will just go very quickly about this technique and some of the findings from this technique. For example, here we have actually divided the technique into 4 groups. First is the real-time PCR that can be used to detect the presence of animal species within less than 3 hours. And then we have LAMP technique, yeah. And then we have this gold nanoparticle technique. Both can be used also to detect the presence of animal species less than 3 hours. And the 4th group is on the commercial rapid test kit available in the market that can be also used to detect the presence of the different animal species. And this technique can be done, either in the lab or at point of care. So if you have the technology that only can be used in the lab, then maybe you have to bring all the sample specimen into the lab. But if you have the technology that can be used to detect at point of care, then you can carry the technology and then bring to the port, airport, factory, and so on to do the testing. Okay. So I would like to share with you some of the results, some of the findings from those rapid test kits. Yeah, we have this multiplex PCR being conducted to investigate or determine the identity of a processed meat product. And what I would like to share with you, and the very critical result is that of this steak product, steak product number 2, the species declared on the product is pork and beef. But when the scientists did the testing, real-time multiplexing PCR, they discovered that this steak contained also chicken. So that means the steak is made from 3 different types of animal: pork, chicken, and beef, even though they claim that the steak is made only from pork and beef. Yeah. And the second example that I would like to share is the sample number 3, which is the dried meat, dried chicken meat jerky. And this product declared as a chicken, but when the scientists do the testing, this product also contain pork DNA, which is very critical for Muslim. Yeah. So this why this testing is very important to verify the status of the halal food. And the second technology that we developed in our laboratory, this one is really developed in our lab, is by using this gold nanoparticle technique, where we prepare the gold nanoparticle and then we conjugate it with the probe and we test with the different type of DNA sample. And from that result, we can really detect the presence of the porcine DNA visually based on the color changes. From this slide, you can see that A is the sample with very, very low amount of the target DNA. B has a higher target DNA until the E is the highest target DNA present in the sample that we extracted. Then from this, we can see that they give different colors, yeah, from pink red until the gray. So from there, we know that the product that we tested contain the targeted animal species that we are investigating or not, yeah. And this is another gold nanoparticle study conducted by other scientists from China, and basically what they discovered actually is the same as what we discovered before. Yeah, they do the dilution of the DNA and then they put into the gold nanoparticle and they will get a different color. Yeah, and this color intensity can be measured either using spectrophotometer or by using just a simple Adobe Photoshop through the computer analysis and so on. You can really quantitate the amount of DNA present in each of the sample. Okay, the third technology that I would like to share with you all is the rapid DNA-based technique that can be used in the lab as well as at point of care. And this technology is developed in our laboratory, and we call this technology as Hafiz, Halal Verification System. And this technology is actually a real-time based technology using GenStat platform. And what we developed is the cartridge here the Hafiz pork DNA detection assay here, that we optimize the ingredients, the formulation for the DNA extraction, as well as the real-time PCR assay, and then lyophilize it, put into the tube, and it is become a ready-to-use kind of test kit. Yeah, and this kit is very simple. Where what you need to do is to directly take the DNA sample, put into the cartridge, and then insert the cartridge into the machine, and by pressing this button, you can get the result within 1 hour without doing any DNA extraction prior to the analysis. So it's really very easy and can be done by anybody anywhere. Yeah. So we launched this product previously, and I would like to share with you some of the results that we obtained by using this technology. In this first result, we detect the pork meat sample, and this pork meat sample really give a positive result. And also the control here to make sure that the reagent is working well. And the second sample here is the swab sample of pork, where we use a device like a cotton bud, but actually it's a special device. Do the swabbing and then put the swab into the tube and shake it a little bit for a while, and then withdraw the cotton swab and put the tube into the cartridge and insert into the machine. Within 1 hour, you can get the result, and also give a positive result for the swab sample. And the next result is we tested the presence of pork in beef sample. We mix the pork in a very low quantity into the beef sample, and we detect it using the machine, the presence of this pork DNA in that sample. And we also managed to get the positive result from this experiment. And also we tested for capsule sample made from gelatin. And in this case, we buy a capsule sample made from a porcine gelatin. We tested the capsule and also give a positive result. And after that, we take halal gelatin. We bought the halal gelatin labeled with halal. And when we tested, it gives a negative result, which is a good indication that the halal gelatin is really halal, because it gives a negative result. And we also tested local, halal label food. We buy a meat-based halal label food, and we tested and give us a negative result. And again, it's a very good result. And in fact, when we have this kind of result, it will really increase the integrity or the confidence of the people when we do this kind of experiment. Yeah. And for the imported halal label food, we buy an imported halal label food meat-based product, and we tested and also give a negative result, which is very good. And for the cat food sample, as I told you just now, that we have issue with the animal feed, and we tested a cat food sample without the halal, or without any indication that the cat food contain porcine, and still give a positive result for porcine. So this is the thing that we have to be aware. In this case, we buy the cat food and we read the label, did not indicate any porcine material there, but contain porcine DNA. So we have to be aware of that. Yeah. And just to share with you that this technology also possible, to be used for COVID-19 testing. So meaning that the technology is quite reliable and and trusted, because not just for testing food sample, but this technology also, the platform, I mean, that the researcher developed, can also be used for COVID testing, just to share with you. Yeah. So for the conclusion, what I would like to say here is that laboratory testing is an important scientific process to clarify issues with halal food product. It provides analytical data on the authenticity of product or production process to complement the audit-based halal assurance system. And with that, I would like to acknowledge especially SEARCA for awarding me with the SEARCA Professorial Chair for the year 2021. And also I would like to thank UCTC for organizing, managing this event. Without help from them, this webinar would not be possible. And then to Faculty of Agriculture, Halal Product Research Institute, and also my faculty of Biotechnology and Biomedical Sciences for providing a lot of things, especially in terms of the facility and infrastructures for me to do the research. With that, I thank you for your attention. I pass to Dr. Muaz.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Shuhaimi, for the interesting presentation. We are actually now at the end of our presentation session. So next is the Q&A session. So with me, I have several questions which have been asked by the participants. So the way is I'm going to ask one of the presenters to answer each question. So one by one. So first, I think we will start with the first question is for Dr. Norsida. So the question reads, in countries that severely lack modern interventions and ICT programs, how can they mitigate or reduce effects of climate change?
Okay,
Right.
I agree that the poor actually living in developing countries or less developing countries, they need to mitigate and adapt the climate change. However, they don't have any facility, they have no, any connection of internet, and they don't have any modern facility. However, they still can mitigate to reduce the climate change impact through practice the climate smart agriculture approach. Okay, but we need to understand the farmers first about what is the climate smart agriculture, and then why they need to practice it. This job must be done by agriculture extension officers or agriculture agencies that are responsible to teach them the climate smart agriculture. Not only teach them about the practice of climate smart agriculture, they need also to be educated by how to use the simple ICT tools or technology using their handphone, using a simple one. So maybe that can help them to mitigate and adapt through the practice, through their increase their knowledge on climate change adaptation. And then government must support it. So try to allocate the funds, the allocation to help the build the facility of internet. And then R&D also must have focus on how to develop a good climate smart agriculture and try to find a new technology, new practices, and then help the farmers and help the communities to face with the climate change. That's my answer for this question, Dr. Muaz.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Norsida. So I forgot to mention that the question was asked by Ryan Santi Reyes.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan.
Okay, so now I have the second question. So this is for Professor Shuhaimi. How to send my food sample to check the halal ingredients in UPM? And what are the price charges? How much is it?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Muaz, and also thank you for the person who asked the question. Actually, you can send the sample to Halal Product Research Institute, and the charge varies depending on the type of test but normally around 100 to 300 ringgit lah per sample.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for answering that question. Okay. All right. So now the third question for this is for Dr. Norsida. It is asked from Farhad Hakimi. Is ICT in agricultural extension feasible in enhancing marketing standard for Malaysian market?
Okay, sure. ICT can help something about the market access. If you know, in COVID pandemic period, market was disrupted, isn't it? From farms to the consumer. However, ICT helps the farmers, help the consumer to find their food. Okay, so through ICT, agriculture products can be sold through online. So the online platform through ICT helps a lot. Until now, under MCO, many online online shop. So we can order everything through online, then get our food. So ICT have provide or offer us many chance, not only to the customer, but also to the farmers. Farmers can sell everything if they have a good ICT knowledge and have a good tools and technology. So that's why we'll help market access of everybody to the agriculture products.
Okay, Dr. Norsida, hang on for a bit. There's another follow-up question regarding relating to ICT. This is asked from Ahmad Fikri Muhammad Samsudin. So the question is, what are the challenges in advancing the role of ICTs in Malaysian agriculture?
Okay, I know who is Fikri. Fikri is my precious student who work as a agriculture extension officer now. So thank you, Fikri. Actually, the challenges is not how to apply the ICT knowledge in agriculture, but the basic thing if we need to think is whether the internet connection is good or not. Okay, if this basic infrastructure is not good, so nothing to do with the online, nothing to do with the ICT, nothing to do about the climate smart agriculture using technologies. So governments, so agencies that relate to this matter must provide the good infrastructure, good internet connection. So after they upgrade it to 4G, 5G, so everything will be okay with the ICT application in agriculture. And then we need to implement in the what we call industrial revolution, not 4 but 5. But everything relate to IoT based on the internet online. You need to provide the basic infrastructure first. Whether you are in urban, whether you are in rural, that's very important. That's my answer.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. For Professor Shuhaimi, there's another question also asked from Ahmad Fikri Muhammad Samsudin. What is your opinion to include environmental friendly food sources that support sustainable environmental practices as a prerequisite for halal certification?
Thank you, Muhammad Fikri. Actually, really, when we consider the halal food production, we have to include all those element of environmental. In fact, when we want to apply for halal certification, they will look at the source of the raw material, and then how you plant the material. Are those process following the requirement by the Ministry of Agriculture, environment issue, and so on, need to be included, because when we apply for halal certificate, the process will not just look at the halal aspect, but also the applicant must comply with some other or whatever regulation imposed by the different ministries and so on. So it's not just about the halal. It's also about the safety, Thayyiban, and also about the environment. Yeah, it will be included. Yeah, and in fact, it's already included in the system when we apply for halal certification. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for the answer. So, okay, another question for Dr. Norsida from Neo Jasmine. So, what is the current state of awareness on climate change adoption among farmers or people in Malaysia?
Okay, climate change awareness is still low among the general people. Okay, but however, who works in agriculture sector as a farmers, as a fisherman, or what's agriculture extension workers, so they are aware about the climate change because they need to face it every day. So sometimes they see that there are infection, there are an attack of the pests and diseases, and then the flood, sometimes a drought, and then many things that relate to the weather, relate to the pest and diseases problem must be related to the climate change. So that's one is climate change impact. So the awareness is still low. So our job is we need to understand uh, understand or educate the farmers and then give them information, try to explain to them why they need to adapt the climate change so that the awareness can be increased. If not, yeah, it's not only the farmers, the government need to educate the general people, the citizens of Malaysia, the importance of the climate change adaptation and mitigation and how to reduce it, not to try to destroy it, and help agriculture to face with the climate change impact. So the food security, food safety, pest and diseases problems, food price, marketing, everything can be what's secure. That's my answer for the question, Dr. Mas.
Okay, relating to climate change, another question for Dr. Norsida by Muhammad Nizam Osman. How many percentage of Malaysian climate has changed over the years due to open burning? I think this is quite a tough question because in terms of percentage, but you can give your opinion.
I don't have a data on changes on climate due to the open burning, but this open burning issue is relating to the gas emission, or we can know about the carbon footprint, gas emission, gases by the agriculture sector. So the open burning is related to the agriculture. So we have the regulation, we have the policy, we have the strategy, and we have a rate or standards, how many what gas emission percentage it need to be lower. So we need to follow it. But the farmers actually the farmers or the community not understand well why they need to reduce the gas emission, why they need to avoid the open burning. We need to make them understand first. Before that, the extension officers, extension workers, policy makers must understand first why and what is the gas emission, what is carbon footprint, so they can understand it and try to understand it, and then they will avoid the open burning. Okay, not only they focus on the profit and they want to increase their productivity in agriculture, but they need to care about the environment also. So we need to educate our community about the reducing of carbon footprints by agriculture. Okay, that's my answer, Dr. Muaz.
Okay, all right. Okay, the next question is for Professor Shuhaimi. So, are there any new technologies to detect halal slaughtering?
Oh, okay. Thank you for those who asked the question. Actually, the technology theoretically is available. Yeah. Just that I agree with you that not many research being conducted on that. For example, is when you slaughter the animal, yeah, the animal will respond differently from the way you slaughter, because that is a very like a natural response. When you like hit the animal will respond differently. When you cut the throat of the animal will respond biochemically in their body will respond differently. Yeah? And our hypothesis is that when the animal being treated differently in terms of the killing process, it will produce like, you know, chemicals, can be enzyme, can be hormone, can be some other thing. Yeah. And those chemicals can be detected, can be profiled using the technology available. For example, we have this GCMS, we have this LCMS, we have the isotope ratio mass spec. I believe that those instrumentation can detect, can profile the different, maybe thousands of chemical release in response to the treatment that being given to the animal. Just that the experiment specifically on that is not yet being conducted. Yeah, I agree with you. Even in our institute, in the faculty, and you know, at the university, we don't do that yet, but it's possible. Yeah.
Okay, another interesting question for Professor Shuhaimi. So companies, this is from Firdaus Shami. For companies like KFC, McDonald's, and other fast food, usually they have the secret ingredient. So do they need to tell the secret ingredient to get the halal certificate?
Yeah, for those companies, yeah, they have the halal committee, yeah, and this halal committee will check all the ingredients, and they will do the interview, in-house interview to their suppliers of the ingredient raw materials, and if they convince with that interview session, they will approve for the halal application, because that raw materials in specific ingredient, they cannot declare or disclose the content or the substance. Yeah, what they do is they will interview the supplier, and that Sharia panel will interview the supplier, and if the panel satisfied, then they will give the certificate. Yeah, so basically the authority like the state, the federal, will check whatever document that they have, and also get the opinion from their Sharia panel. If the federal agency state satisfied, then they will give the halal certificate to those company. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Prof. Shuhaimi. So the last question is from Atira Yasim for Dr. Norsida. Can practicing regenerative agriculture help to mitigate the climate change impact? And if so, will it be implemented for the future of agricultural sector in Malaysia?
Thank you, Dr. Muaz, and thank you, Atira Yasim, my beloved students. Okay, any approach of the climate smart agriculture are welcome. Okay, what's kind of approach or method? So if it's good for the future, for the environment, it's good for the farmers, it's good for agriculture sector, we are welcome it. So the policy maker, decision maker, agriculture agencies need to plan the strategies to implement whatever approach that very good in environment in long term, very good to the farmers, providing them the income and help the agriculture sector for growing. So everything that relate to the good smart climate that can mitigate can avoid the climate change impact are welcome. So thank you for the question, Atira.
Okay, I just got another question for Dr. Norsida, just came in. So how to decrease ICT problems during this pandemic situation?
What's kind of the ICT problem?
All right, this is quite general.
Quite general, but now you have your mobile phone, you have apps, you have operating system in your handphone, so everything able to have it through ICT. However, the problem is, as I said, is internet connection, because many apps, if no internet connection, nothing to do, isn't it? Okay, so the basic thing is we need to have a good connection. We need to good high standard, high advanced technologies in ICT. So inshallah, everything is okay. I answer the question. I'm not very well understand what the question is.
Okay, that question was asked by Zulkarnain Said. So I hope
that's my student too from Pakistan.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I think that we have arrived to the end of the session. Actually, just to wrap up a bit about the webinar, basically. So we can conclude that both presenters have highlighted the issues that we are facing in the agricultural sector. From what is known, people are more aware. In Professor Shuhaimi's speech, we noticed that through human awareness as well as technological advancement, we can now monitor food that is not only halal, or not, but at the same time tayyib or good. So besides that, people nowadays are also more ready. They are more educated and knowledgeable about climate change. Climate change is real and it will keep on happening. Our major task now is to ensure that we adapt with it and reduce exposure to these risks, especially among the vulnerables. At the same time, we must all do our part to the environment. This requires a collective effort. So Dr. Norsida mentioned change the way of life. So we all know that the industrial revolution way of life promotes development after development. So however, with so many negative impacts, we should now also learn how to protect our planet at the same time. So ladies and gentlemen, finally we have come to the end of our webinar. I hope that all of you have learned something. We want to thank to both our presenters, Professor Shuhaimi and Dr. Norsida, for the informative and interesting talk. And to the audience, thank you for staying with us. I hope that someday we will also cross paths somewhere, maybe in another webinar or something like that. If that's all, thank you very much, and assalamu alaikum.
Welcome. Thank you, Dr. Muaz, and thank you all participants. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you to all participants. Hope the webinar will benefit all of us. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry for the inconveniences of the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Yeah, bye-bye.